Bonjour les étudiants et bienvenue à la semaine 24. So today, obviously we have all kinds of fun things to talk about and, oops, look who's very awake today. Say hi. Bonjour les étudiants. Say bonjour. I don't think she's looking the right way at all, is she? Yeah, probably not. She's always looking everywhere. So anyways, here's Gemma. Let me set her down so that way she looks a little more comfortable. Okay, and then I will bring you to her. So yeah, anyways, she's doing good, getting big. Here she is. Say bonjour. Bonjour. Hi. What do you think? What is that? Those are les étudiants. Though all you're seeing is a webcam. Yeah. As you can hear, we have some hiccups going on and some other weird sounds. So anyways, if you hear weird sounds during this, as always, it's her. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so first off, a review of le futur simple. So it's super easy to conjugate. All you do is take the infinitive of a verb and add the endings. Da-da-da-da. The only exception is vendre. We take off that E because otherwise it just gets really weird. So you guys have been practicing this week, so I want you to take a moment and practice these. Write them down. If you want, you can split them up. You know, one group of students does one, another group of students does another. But I want you to take a moment to practice these and make sure that you know them. Now, like I mentioned next week, we do have some irregulars because it just happens. However, the ones that I want you to really focus on are, of course, aller, avoir, être, and faire, because those are the ones you're going to run into most often. These other ones are just so that you know what they are in case you ever run into them. Because let's be honest, if you run into voir and you're trying to conjugate it, it looks a little weird. So that way you know which ones are irregular. So here's a chance to practice 3 of the 4 irregulars. So take a moment, work on them. Remember, the endings are the same. The stems are what's different because we're not going to use être and then take off the E. We're going to use ser. So today our major thing that we're going to learn about is la comparison de l'adjectif qualificatif. So these are the comparison of adjectives. So for example, my husband is taller than me. Or my sister-in-law is as tall as me. Or I have another sister-in-law and she's shorter than me. These are all things comparing adjectives. So the adjective in this case, it has to do with size. So taller, same height, which I used a proper adjective with that, or shorter. And so, yeah. So when we do this, because this of course is a very handy thing to be able to do, there's some different phrases that we use. So let me go ahead and go through them with you. So we have plus que, which means more than, moins de, which means less than, and aussi que, which means as, like the same as, which will make sense in a minute. So for an example, in France, they have like a grocer, which is kind of like on the corner, specialty kind of things, and then they have a place called Carrefour. Now Carrefour is kind of like a Walmart-y kind of place. So think about the difference between like a Publix and a Walmart. So in French, if they were to say the products at the grocers are more expensive than at Carrefour, this is how they put it together. Chez l'épicier, l'épicier of course being the grocers, les produits sont plus chers qu'à Carrefour. So plus que, and then since this is a vowel, they're going to do that because it's French and they can't stand it being together. Now, one thing I want you to know going into this is that que isn't always required. So, for example, you could do it like this. Chez l'épicier, les produits sont plus chers. So the products are more expensive. And that's a perfectly fine thing to say as well. However, of course, if you want to mention the other place, and you have to add the que. Now using moins de is going to be very similar. So for example, Frank thinks Carrefour is less expensive than trouve tout, which literally means find all. Another place that's kind of like Carrefour, which is kind of like Walmart, Target, things like that. So en français, they would say, Franck pense que Carrefour est moins cher, and then they use que trouveau or de trouveau. What? It should be que, shouldn't it? Sorry about that. Moins que. There we go. Anyways, so that's how they would do it. And notice that this is in the parentheses because you could keep it or take it out. Now, aussi que means about the same as. So, for Lawrence, the friendly service is as important as the quality of the products. So, en français, pour Laurence, l'actuel est aussi important que la qualité des produits. So notice that in each of these cases, the adjective is in the middle of our phrase that we're talking about. So it's in the middle of plus que, moins que, or aussi que. Now another thing you could do, if you want to get really fancy, is use a stressed pronoun. So we learned about them just a few weeks ago, and you can use it after the que. So for example, she is more intelligent than he is. Yeah, we just went there. I don't know who she is, but she just went there. So, elle est plus intelligente que lui. So remember the lui with the caterpillar that had the subject, and then the me te, le, or me te, nous, vous, all those. Remember that? Those phrases can go EC. So, just a random fact. But the most important thing is plus que, moins que, aussi que. Now let's have some fun with this. So, I have trois chiens. Il y a trois chiens. Ici, we have Pippa et Yves et Chanel. Now, I will be honest with you, I actually went online and figured out different names that people name their dogs en français. It may or may not be completely accurate, but I couldn't resist. So here we are. So now the word I'm using in this case is frisé. This means curly. And you'll notice that all of these are feminine, hence the extra E at the end of frisé. So Pippa est frisée. Pippa is curly. She has curly hair. Now we have Yves ici. Yves est plus frisé que Pippa. So using what we learned on the last page, Yves est plus frisé que Pippa. She's more curly than Pippa. Now, if we're talking about three things, you know how sometimes you would say that something is the most curly or the most delicious or something like that? Well, en français, they would use the phrase la plus. So we have Chanel ici. And when I went looking for curly dog pictures, this made me like crack up completely. I mean, seriously, where's this dog's eyes? I'm just saying, so curly, so long. Anyways, how we would say this is Chanel est le plus frisé de toi. So Chanel is the most curly of the three. And that's literally what it says. Or another thing you could say is Chanel est la chienne la plus frisée de toi. Chanel is the dog that's the most curly of the three. And yes, we use la twice. Perfectly fine to do that. It's just another way that you can say it. These both literally mean just about the same thing, except notice that we have chien in here a second, or to specify. The other one we don't have chien. So that's how that kind of thing works. And if you want to take a moment to practice this, you can always think about a description of you and like some of your friends or siblings or your dog and somebody else's dogs or something like that, and think about how you could do it en français. Anyways, that's how that works. Now, of course, when it comes to these, most of the time you just do the adjective and you're fine. You don't have to change anything. However, when you get to good and bad, it's actually very much like English in that we don't use the same thing all the time. But we use like good, better, best. It's not like good, gooder, goodest, or anything like that, or bad, badder, baddest, which, I mean, I guess, I don't know. Anyways, so these are the phrases that they would use en français. So good is bon. Notice that if it's feminine, we add the extra N and E, or N and E, en français. So bon would be something's good, which I'll show you an example in a minute. Mieux is better. Notice we add the extra E if it's feminine. And then if it's the best, le plus frisé, just like we had on the last page, it's le mieux, the best, or the better, I guess it'd be, or la mieux. Notice it's the same word, but le or la tells us if it's feminine or masculine. So we say good, better, best. They say bon, mieux, le mieux, or la mieux. And there you go. Which, yes, it does mean that best friend is meilleur ami, your best friend, meilleur ami, which literally means better friend, but we're not going to go there. Anyways, if you go for bad, then we start with mauvais. Notice that you add the E if it's feminine, so mauvais. Worse is plus mauvais. Again, add the E, so it'd be mauvais, you get to say the S. Or you can use a word, pire. It's completely up to you. Either way is perfectly fine. Both of these mean worse. Then if you get to the worst, fortunately we get to keep using mauvais if we want. So it's le plus mauvais or le plus mauvaise. Either way is perfectly fine. Or you can use the second word here, pire. So le pire or la pire. And there you go. That's how you can say it. So let's go ahead and have an example. I apologize in advance if you're traumatized by these pictures. They're pretty bad. But of course I'm preparing you for the slide after this. Psych! I'm just kidding. Anyways, so with this one we have des fruits. Ah, des fruits. I love it. So, les fraises. You guys remember les fraises, right? Strawberries. So, les fraises sont bons. Strawberries are good. Mais les myrtilles sont meilleurs. But the blueberries are better. So we got two things that we're comparing. Les fraises sont bons, mais les myrtilles sont meilleurs. There you go. And you can set up sentences like that. That's perfectly fine. Or we could say les mûres. Les mûres are these guys, blackberries. They're delicious. Les mûres sont le meilleur des baies. So the blackberries are the best. Les mûres, the best of the berries. Yeah, I just went there. Or, of course, you could use the assez que, moins que, all those things that we talked about. So if you were to do that, for example, with this sentence up here, with les fraises and les myrtilles, then it would be les fraises, or no, let's see. If we're saying that the myrtilles are better, you would say les myrtilles sont plus meilleurs que les fraises. So same structure, you would just change up what the words are. But this is another thing that you can do. All right, here's the traumatizing pictures that I was talking about. And yes, this one is Monty et moi. This is when we first got him. And this basically sums up my relationship with Monty because I love him so much. And he's like, no, quit loving me this much. So yeah, I love this picture. It's horrible, but it makes me laugh so hard. Anyways. La photo de Monty et moi est mauvais. So the picture of Monty and me is bad. Est mauvais. All right. Then we've got this one with the chien. La photo du chien est plus mauvais. So that picture's worse. Okay, it may not actually be worse because, I mean, it literally looks like I'm killing Monty and doing this weird squinting thing and he's in motion, but you know, c'est la vie. Another thing you could say is la photo du chien est peu, or pire, is bad. It's worse. In either case, these mean worse. And then, of course, I love this picture. I went looking online for animal pictures, and this one just took the cake. So, la photo de la famille avec les animaux est le plus mauvais. Le plus mauvais. It is the worst. And notice that le plus mauvais is going to match la photo. We want to make sure that we're using the right gender here. That was my baby snoring. Another thing that you could say is la photo de la famille avec les animaux est le pire. It is the worst. The worst. Just saying. Now, of course, if we want to use a comparison, so like the picture of Monty and me is worse than this one. I'm not saying that it is, but we could say la photo de Monty et moi est plus mauvais que la photo de la famille avec les animaux. So you see how that goes. It totally works that way too. So that's your crash course into la comparison de l'adjectif qualificatif. Don't worry, we'll talk more about it and we'll have some fun with it as we go along. Now, if you have any questions, if you need any help, just let me know. Bonne journée, au revoir, and I'll see you guys soon.